Everyone, welcome back. Now, I have a question for you. Look at these two circles, please. Now, these two circles are of two spherical objects, and I want you to tell me how big they are. But you can't? Why can't you? Well, let me help you out here. I'll draw a little bit more detail on one. Okay, there we go. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so maybe you kind of have an idea of what that first one is now. Yeah, there you go. So it's looking prettier as we go. This is amazing. I'm loving it. Okay, so now can you tell me how big that one is? Okay, so you got a good idea. Some of you are probably going to say like, a few thousand miles wide. But the answer is actually 1.5 feet. It's a globe. It's not the globe. It's a globe. So how big is this one over here? 15,000 miles. Now the thing is, when you're drawing a picture, there's no way for anyone to know how big something is unless you give a dimension. You have to give a dimension, otherwise they can't tell how big it's supposed to be. They can go based on like relative sizes, they can make some guesses there, but guesses are not a good idea. You don't want to just do guesswork. So in this video, we're going to talk about dimensions, specifically how we draw those dimensions in our drawings. Now, the great thing is SOLIDWORKS has a tool that does this for you, so we don't have to worry about it too much when we're in SOLIDWORKS. But for now, when we're doing these 2D sketches or practicing moving our way to SOLIDWORKS, we do need to practice a little bit here. So let's go ahead and bring it back. I'm going to draw something that has a little bit more detail to it than the last one. So here's my drawing. Okay, that looks pretty good. Why did I do it in first angle projection this time? I just wasn't thinking. Forgive me. Actually, no, that's still a third angle. We're good. So, with that in mind, I have these two views of a single object. Now, when I'm adding dimensions to my object, the way you should do that is always to add it in the view that makes the most sense. So, for example, this circle right here, that one, I want to make sure that they can tell how big that is. And so if I want to make sure they can tell how big it is, I need to add a dimension to it. How does that look? Well, there is a center to that circle. And so I'm going to make sure I have an arrow on one side that points to the center of that circle. I'm going to have an arrow on the other side that points to the center of that circle. And then I can give, usually I'll put a diameter symbol, which is that right there, and I can give a value. So I'll say 0.5. If you wonder what my units are, those are set by your drawing. You'll actually have a place that tells the unit. So I'm not going to worry about right now. Okay, so I have my unit right there. I have my dimension right there. And I can continue to add dimensions for whatever seems to make the most sense to me. So I'm going to do the height dimension right here. I don't mind. I like to put as many dimensions as I can, if it makes sense, into a single place. That's about 2.5 in my opinion. Is it really? I don't know. And then I'm going to add the height of this bottom piece. Now, when you have a smaller dimension that is parallel to another dimension in that same view, you always want to put it on the inside. It just looks a lot nicer and people will not hate you. So, looks like that. That's going pretty good. Then I might add how wide it is. I could do this on the top or the bottom, but it looks good to me right here, so I'll do that. I'm going to say that's 1.5. Is this perfectly to scale? No, it's not. Okay. And then finally, one last little detail here is how deep is this and how wide is it? So let's go ahead and get that done. I'm going to say that this dimension right here looks like 1.5 too. So I'll go ahead and add a 1.5. And I'll add this dimension right here. And I'll say that's about 1. So this right here, that's an extension line. This right here, that's a dimension line. We have all these different things that can help us out. And so far, it's looking really, really nice. I have enough dimensions. But you might be wondering to yourself, well, what about this guy? Why don't I have this one dimension? Why no dimension, Dr. Kid? Why no dimension? Well, the answer is because I already know it. And also because my scale is horribly off. That's okay. That's okay. Because you can do math. If you look here, you can realize that, well, that's going to be equal to 1.5 minus 1. And so that should be, definitely should have made that bigger in a value. Should be ½ inch. So I don't have to give a dimension if my other dimensions tell me what to do. Okay. So we can see that we were supposed to add dimensions here. I've talked a little bit about these lines here, but now I think it's about a good time to start specifying a little bit more detail about lines we add. Now, there are various different lines we have in drawings. The one you're going to see the most is the solid line. It's big, it's thick, it looks like that. You can also have an extension line, okay? So we have the solid lines. Those are for the edges, okay? These are edges of my drawing. Then we have extension lines. These simply extend, and they're used to usually tell me where edges are for dimensions. Okay. Then I have my nice little arrows right here. As a note, the arrowhead actually has a specific shape. And so if you were drawing this by hand, you would have to make it look something like that. I mean, it is very, very precise. We're going to use SolidWorks, so don't bother. It will do it for you perfectly. Okay, then we have the hidden line. This is for any feature you cannot see. So if there's an edge that you cannot see in your view, then you will have a hidden line for it. Okay, that's why when I had this hole right here and I could not see it because it is hidden by the wall, I drew those dotted lines to say that it's there. But there's one line that I haven't been using that I need to, and that's what's called a center line, okay? Center. It's got other names too, but we're going to use center right now because it makes more sense with how we use it. A center line tells me where the center of something is. Now, you see this little circle right there. I put a dot for its center. However, in reality, when I have a drawing like this, I'm supposed to draw a center line, and it ends up looking like a bullseye. Kind of like a target. That's how it draws. What that helps me with is adding one more dimension, or sorry, two more dimensions that I have not yet given. Like, what are those? Well, did I ever tell you where that circle was placed? I didn't. You might assume, well, it's in the middle, it's a square. Maybe it is, but if I don't give you a dimension for that, you don't know for certain. So let's go ahead and add one. I have an extension line right here. I'm going to put a 1. I'm going to say it's 1 up, but just to make sure that we had to actually add it, I'm going to give another extension line, or a dimension line right here. I'm going to say that this is 0.8. Okay? 0.8! Yes, it was not actually in the middle. It was only looking like it was perfectly in the middle. It was slightly offset. And as a note, when you do dimensions, you can have them going to a solid line. You can just imagine that there is an extension line that is hidden by that solid line. So that center line is what I use to help add my dimensions that tell me where the position of that circle is. And I'll do that for any circular object, anything that has a circular cross section. As a note, I also add a center line in my side views. I just put it right along the middle of my shape if it is a circular cross section. That just tells me where it is. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to find an object. And I mean, it needs to be simple for you. Like, just if you can find a piece of wood, like a piece of wood somewhere. You know, your dad was building something, your mom was building something, and they left a random piece of wood, and it has like a hole in it. That is good enough. And I want you to draw it. I want you to take a tape measure, you know, that kind of like thing like this. And I want you to measure all its dimensions, and I want you to draw something like this. And add all of your dimensions into it, all of the lines, the center lines, hidden lines, everything. And, give me a good drawing of that object. And if you do that, you'll be another step closer to understanding what we're going to be going through when we get to SolidWorks. So everybody, that'll be it for this time. Thank you again. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.